What's up, guys? We're gonna brobeatz. Today I'm gonna be showing you guys how to make some ambient dreamscape music. With that being said, let's go ahead and hop into the video. Alright, so let's go ahead and hop in this. So what we're gonna do is talk about the essentials. So that would be like the BPM and scale, stuff like that. So for the BPM, you can use whatever BPM you really like or what works for the chord progression you want to make. But I would say, just from my experience, probably 70. I've never dropped below 70, but 70 to maybe 90 is kind of like that sweet area where the chords won't come in too slow or too fast. Now, me personally, I kind of like 70 to 80. That's just me personally. So I'll probably go like, let's do 75. Okay. Because a lot of this stuff is very slow moving chords and stuff like that. Now for the scale, it'll be a lot easier to make stuff in this if you use the major. So if you want to try the minor, you can, but usually to get that like feel that this style has, you want to use like a major. Let's use like a E major. Now, lastly is sound selection. Now, the reason I loaded this up is because I don't use stock plugins anymore like that. Okay, the only time I use stock plugins is for effects. So I know some people, this is all they have. So I'm gonna show you what to look for. So pretty much what you want to look for is very ambient and rounded off, or like a sine wave sound. So I'll just pick this bank and I'll go through some to show you what not to pick, but something like this could work. But for this style, I feel like it's just too sharp. So your best friend will be this filter here to be able to kind of round it off. And then you want to like add more reverb, and I'm not going to mess with the settings here, but like this, you probably don't want to use that. Not to say you can't use it, but it's just, some of this stuff doesn't really work. This could work, right? But like, let me see. That could work if you add some effects. Yeah, that's definitely not working, right? So you want to stay away from sharp sounds. You want stuff that's very ambient, and like sine wave like. So we can go here. I'm sure some of these sounds. So there's one that's definitely a no. This could work if that could work. Okay, so that's just some stuff you can do to kind of fix these stock sounds. But that's done. We're done with the essentials. Let's go ahead and get to making this stuff. Now this is the pad I'm using, right? Very ambient. So you can kind of look it up with drones, whatever VST you have, or ambient pad, stuff like that. So we're gonna start at 0. So basically, how do you actually make the bass line? So every bass line is pretty much, for the most part, just a chord. So if we have a chord like this, all you really need to do is just invert some of these notes, so you can get like different bass lines. And I like doing the top one because it's closer together, which will make a better bass line. And then you just pull them over. And this is usually how most bass lines are made. So with that information, now you can make your own. Now, what I like to do is, and if you want to, you could take like a suspended chord, and then you could try stuff like this, right? But for this, I like to use dyads. So pretty much it's just 2 notes that play at the same time. Okay, and a triad would be 3 notes if you don't know that. And then what I'm gonna do is restart at the root and make a chord backwards. Okay, so now we have a C minor, which means our bass line will sound sad. And we know that because of the minor chord. So I'm gonna pull this over, and you can copy me as well if you need to, right? If you need to, but if you really want to learn this like first try, you should probably make your own stuff so that it sticks. Oh wait, I messed this up. Let's do something like this. There we go. Right, we kind of want that like sad, nostalgic sound, right? So next thing we got to do is copy this. Let's pull it up an octave, and we're just gonna make 7th chords. Okay, so pretty much a 7th chord is just 4 notes that play at the same time. So you would just build this out, skip every other note within the scale. So that's the white lines. So we skip this one, go up. You could do that for every single one. Well, I probably could just copy this over. All right, now for me personally, what works is I like deleting the bottom note. You do not have to do this if you like how it sounds like this. I like cleaning up some of these frequencies in the bottom, so I like deleting the lower note. Now we're left with a new chord up top. All right, so the next step something that really helps, since we kind of have that 7th chord feel now without having the full notes here, I'm gonna take the middle notes and we're gonna pull them up like this. So now what we've done is set ourselves up to add other notes, because you see we have all this range. So now you can add other notes if you want to. It doesn't really matter, just anything within here that you like. So for me, I'm looking at this as like a melody. So I'm like, okay, this is kind of going in the flow, right? You can just add notes in here to just kind of recolor them and make them sound different. All right, whatever, right? It doesn't really matter. Let's copy it over. So our chords are done and everything else is pretty much going to be built off of this. So let's go ahead and hop into those. So next up, we have our ambient lead. Okay, so I kind of labeled the sound so you kind of know what we have here to look for. So if you're using Omnisphere or whatever plugin you're using, you can kind of match the type of sound. So again, you want those sine waves. So let's go in here. And from here, what you want to do is really apply less is more. So don't try, like, you can obviously, if you want to, you can make like some crazy melodies, right, if you want to, but I would say at the start, until you get like a melody you really like, kind of do less. All right, that generally just works. So I'm gonna just pull in and we can just make something real quick. I'm starting on the root. Okay, and of course we'll have to like adjust this stuff. I'll make a chord backwards again. All right, so we have this minor chord here, G sharp minor, and we're gonna pull this over. And then we're gonna pull that back in, use the wiggle here. And if you don't know what that is, the wiggle is just a term I made on my channel where you pretty much go from one note back to another note. And it's just an easy way to make like a quick melody or something like that. Let's go. I'm gonna copy these over and let's do something like this. Let's make a chord upward and then make a chord downward. And we can copy it over. All right, let's move on to the next sound. All right, so now we have a sharper sound. All right, something a little bit more on the higher frequency side. So we're just gonna use the same kind of process, except we're gonna give it a lot more space, because obviously with like these higher sounds, they can get very annoying very quickly. So I'm gonna just use the same notes, honestly. Let me see. And then let's move this down here. And don't worry about the mix. We'll talk about that either in another video or in this video, depending on the length, but I'm sure this video will take a long time. So what other notes can we pull from? Let's use the B. Let's see if B works. Make a chord downward. We're just going to kind of steal that pattern we had earlier. Just pull these back a bit, because I do think these are kind of going on a little too long. Right, and the delay on this kind of makes it gives it that like trippy feeling, right? So I'm gonna copy this over and we can move on to our keys. Now we have some keys, so we'll just kind of layer these just to kind of speed it up. So we have this sound, just kind of showing you they're kind of similar. All right, so let's start here and then we'll kind of slowly mix it in as well. But now what we want to do is kind of make something a little bit more higher energy. So a combo of that is we have a sound with like higher frequencies, so it's like sharper. It's not more rounded, like something like that's more rounded off. So let's take this dynamic that we had, and then what you can do is just take one of these notes. It could be the second note, pull it up like that. And then what you want to do is just rearrange it however you like. Let's see, let's maybe do something like that. Let's pull this up like so. And then we can just pull that up, copy it over, and then we're just gonna paste this here, and we can do some slight variation. Let's maybe do like let's pull this in. Let's do something that falls down like this. Let's make a chord like that, and then connect it. See that? And of course, we'll need to mix these in. Let's pull this up. All right, so let's pull this in. Now we're just gonna mix these in. So I'm gonna turn all the harsh ones down. I'm just gonna pan them a little bit. All right, now I think that's good for the video. Obviously, if I am making this on my own, I'm doing a lot more, taking my time. So let's go ahead and add the basses. Now here we have our basses. Okay, and I just have like these, which we're gonna layer. So for the bass line, with this style and just how like the chords are built, a lot of times the bass line doesn't necessarily fit. So we're just gonna copy this. So to like fix it, the short answer is just to use your ear, right? You could probably pull that up. Okay, so what we're gonna do is go back here, and to find other bass lines, you could trial and error. You could pull from the notes you already have, or you could look at the, I don't know, I guess you could call it like a ghost chord, I don't know. But if you look here, the bottom note is a part of a suspended chord. So we could use A for this if we wanted to, okay? If you wanted to, if you like the way it sounded. So we could try that. And of course you can make a chord backwards, but you can see that already works here, right? So you could try B if you wanted to, but I want to try that A because I kind of like the suspended chords. Let's see how that melts into there. And I like that. I think that sounds a lot better as far as the style goes. Now, if you like this, they both work, but I'll use this one just for time's sake, and then we can just kind of copy this over. All right, and of course, mixing is a thing, but I think what we'll do is do arrangement. So we'll just make this into an actual like song, and we'll mix it in the next video. But I think as long as we have the notes down, we'll be fine. So how I would actually go about this, if you're just not going to watch the next video, I would take the clashing melodies. So like this is like the counter melody, I guess, and this is our original. I would not play these at the same time. I will kind of play it like this. And And that would be like my high point, and then my low point, maybe switch the basses, and then maybe throw these in there. Okay, and then just since it's the end of the video, I'll play this part fully, just so you can hear it. Alright, that's pretty much the end of the video, so stay tuned for the next one because we'll do arrangement. So I'm gonna pretty much make an entire song with this, alright, and then we'll do a little mixing. I don't think it needs that much mixing because everything kind of has effects on it already, but we'll like cover the master and stuff like that, and you know, we'll throw some automation clips in here and stuff. So that's gonna be the end of this video. Hopefully you enjoyed. Make sure you like and subscribe if you're new, and I'll see you in the next one. Peace.